The Korean Peninsula has remained the world's volatile flashpoint for decades. North Korea and South Korea are locked in a risky tussle that has gone from bad to worse. In a recent move, North Korea blew up two roads that connect it to the southern part of the peninsula. In response to this, the South Korean military opened gunfire within areas of demarcation lines and fortified borders that divided the two states. After the explosions, the North Korean military warned to cut off its territory from the south completely and to take substantial military steps. So the potential drums of war will be beaten if the North and South keep engaging through military and hostile manners. But the question is, will the decades of conflict turn towards a bigger war in the future? Let's get a detailed analysis with a touch of historical background. By having a look at the historical background, it is evident that the Korean Peninsula shares a common history, culture, and bloodline. But their priorities and ideologies were different. North Korea built a self-reliant state under a totalitarian regime. It invested heavily in its military and also pursued an interest in building nuclear weapons. On the other hand, South Korea gradually thrived into a democracy and global economic power. Its rapid industrialization shaped it into one of the leading economies of the world, but their brutal past created animosity with far-reaching consequences for both. On one side, the South was growing into a democratic setup. On the other side, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un willingly chose a nuclear button on his desk to defend the country from outside aggression. But why would North Korea develop its nuclear weapons? Simply, it wants to be a bad guy to counter the US-South Korea nexus through only one way, by building its nuclear capacity. Kim's sole purpose is to contain South Korean hegemony and its technological power through force and power. For this reason, North Korea has improved its nuclear capabilities and tested nuclear missiles time and again. It conducted 6 nuclear tests between 2006 and 2017. Recently, in September 2024, Kim Jong-un oversaw the successful tests of 2 tactical ballistic missiles. One of these was a super-large conventional warhead, and the other with an improved cruise missile. For Kim, these nukes are powerful deterrents to prevent the US from starting an adventurous war. According to recent estimates, North Korea have 50 nuclear warheads. Not only that, it has the fissile material for almost 90 nuclear weapons, as well as advanced biological and chemical weapons. Adding to that, North Korea is also working to develop submarine-launched ballistic missiles. While North Korea boasted its nukes, South Korea has enjoyed a long military alliance with the US since the Vietnam War. It is the major non-NATO ally of the US, and Washington has maintained a large military presence in South Korea. But the situation took a sharp turn when recently Pyongyang ended all economic relations and trade with Seoul. Not only that, Kim called South Korea North Korea's principal enemy in January 2024. He also reiterated that unification with the South is no longer possible. For him, if a possible war broke out, then the North would occupy and incorporate the South into its own territory. Now that is a grave threat to South Korea's sovereignty and its commitment towards an independent state. The conflict did not end here after the North Korean leader's harsh remarks. In a dramatic turn of events, North Korea has attacked roads and infrastructure near Korean borders. 2 major road and railway links have been destroyed by explosives. Tensions are rising as South Korea has fired warning shots in response to this hostile move. The situation is alarming as it has raised concerns for a bigger war between 2 arch rivals. The two could lock horns against each other and show their prowess. On top of that, it could awaken a conflict resulting in a nuclear war. On one hand, North Korea is expanding its military capacity and also tested more nuclear missiles last year. On the other hand, South Korea has the backing of a global superpower and is also buckling up with its conventional armed forces and US-South Korean maneuvers. But for many, Pyongyang's rhetoric is simple. It wants to keep threatening the South with missiles. Also, it wants Washington to keep the South at bay from entering a full-scale war. It is obvious because the whole world wants them to avoid any potential nuclear war, and that too at their borders and with powerful countries at their back end. But when did the situation become too tense? It started days ago when Pyongyang accused South Korea of sending drones to its capital. According to Pyongyang, these drones carried leaflets criticizing Kim Jong-un. The North's foreign ministry also said that the South wanted to spread propaganda, and did it 3 times last month. Not only that, according to the state-run KCNA news agency, inflammatory and rubbish words and the violation of airspace and leaflets were considered a sign of a military attack. The South Korean ministry initially denied these claims of Pyongyang, but the South Joint Chief of Staff could not confirm this statement later. So these drone issues have triggered angry exchanges between the North and the South. That also seems to be an acute military situation between the 2 states. As KCNA informed, the remaining roads and railways connecting the South will be blocked completely. For the Democratic Republic of Korea, it has every reason to speed up measures to counter any military threat. According to KCNA, these measures were done in response to recent war exercises of South Korea in the border region. Additionally, the North claimed that the U.S. had strategic assets in this region close to the South borders. The situation added further fuel to the fire and drew anger from Pyongyang after U.S. aircraft carriers, assault ships, and submarines visited South Korea last year. To counter this grave threat, the North has fortified its border defenses, laid up landmines, and built anti-tank traps. Besides military measures, both Korean leaders have also exchanged furious remarks at each other. Kim threatened to use nuclear weapons to attack South Korea if it felt any major threat, while South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol responded that if the North used nuclear weapons, then it would be the end of its regime. In this context, the war is imminent between two staunch rivals. Nuclear war seems to be on the way, and the world should be ready to witness another conflict take new turns. But the question is, will Kim want a war, and how is South preparing to respond back? The answer lies in Kim's January 2024 speech with DPRK, in which he declared that he does not plan to start a war. But that was not all. He elaborated that he does not want a war until its principal enemy, South Korea, provokes it. For Kim to go to war with a technologically powerful and economic giant would be a lose-lose situation. That is not all. Because if North Korea ticks on this choice, South is also thinking of joining the nuclear weapons club. South Korean Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun claimed that acquiring nuclear weapons is among all possible solutions to counter North Korea's growing threat. South Korea is way ahead in the military and is in the top 5 in the Global Military Power Index. It is quite ahead in manpower, land resources, air and naval power. It has around 625,000 active military personnel and 3 million in reserve. Along with this, South Korea has a big ally in his favor. Many South Korean officials have urged the U.S. to take a more direct approach to dealing with North Korea. The officials have urged Washington to respond with nukes if North Korea adopts a nuclear first-use policy. For South Korea, it is a nuclear-to-nuclear commitment. That is the best solution for them to address the daunting challenge of knocking on its borders. This would keep North Korea in check and also ensure South Korea's geographical stability. In the context of the above discussion, it is evident that a full-scale war could make situations worse for North Korea. So for regional peace, North and South should engage in bilateral talks to solve the territorial or ideological issue at hand. What are your thoughts about it? Do you think North Korea and South Korea will head towards better neighbors or rivals? Let us know in the comments section. For more such videos and hot topics, stay tuned to our channel and don't forget to subscribe.